Terrell Show, episode 4. What's up, bro?
What's good, bro?
Hey, listen, every time we do a show once a week and we come back, I said, we're not going to have anything to talk about. And as the week goes on, so many things happen and we have an abundance of topics to talk about. And this time is no exception. So you ready to get it?
Man, let's dive right into this bad boy right here.
So breaking news tonight, as we're getting ready for the Thomas and Terrell Show, a news alert pops up that Iran has launched an attack against Israel. Now, I haven't looked at the news in the last 15 minutes, but just prior to that, Iran had launched a flurry of drones. They call them suicide drones. I don't know why they call them suicide drones, because there's not a person in this projectile. I don't know. It's a missile. But apparently these things move really slow. I don't know how they're propelled, but they launched them from Iran. And if you look at a map, there's Iran, and then I believe between Iran and Israel, there's Jordan, and then there's Israel. And apparently these drones move pretty slow, slower than a missile, but there were estimated 100 drones launched from Iran towards Israel. And what they say is that this is the first time that Iran has launched an attack on Israel directly from Iranian soil. Now, Hamas and Hezbollah, those are proxies of Iran. And of course, those two organizations have attacked Israel, but I believe Hezbollah is based in, Hamas is based in Gaza. So, but this is the first time that Iran has attacked Israel directly from Iran. And I'm sure there will be a response, but this is pretty big news. What you have to say about that?
I mean, the U.S., from my understanding, has intercepted quite a few of those drones, and they have what is called a Steel Curtain missile defense, which is an operation between the U.S. and Israel.
The Iron Curtain, right?
Yeah, the Iron Curtain. And so a lot of the missiles have been intercepted as well, shielding the people, but they also send out warnings to the people who are around key sites that they figure are targets, just to be aware. But Israel's going to respond, and their response is probably going to be a nasty response, because Israel is one that if you hit them, they're going to come and hit you 10 times harder than you hit them. That's just the way they operate. The other thing is, it's going to be interesting to see how involved the U.S. gets with these operations being there. And if things, go left, like it seems like it is a big possibility that it could, we can be looking at the start of World War III over here, which will be very unfortunate.
So apparently what started this, there was an Iranian officer of the Quds Force, perhaps in Syria, I believe, and a missile strike from Israel in the consulate in Syria, it may have been Syria, killed this officer and several other Iranian
generals.
Generals.
Yeah, 7 generals.
Iran said that they would retaliate. So this is the retaliation. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens and whether the United States gets involved. The only statement issued by President Biden when it was suspected that Iran would retaliate was don't. And that's what he had
to say.
Did. Right.
Well, they did.
And didn't listen.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's really not our fight. But I have a feeling that some way, shape, or form, we're going to get involved more than what we already have been already. I will say this, though. It's like that one soldier said when it came to America, don't provoke us, because we're not going out looking for a fight. But if you provoke us, somebody else will be raising your sons and daughters, because it won't be you.
Well, one complaint that many conservatives and Republicans had was that President Obama and President Biden returned or gave Iran, and perhaps this was money withheld from Iran from sanctions, $250 billion. And I believe President Biden eased some restrictions on Iranian sanctions, which allowed them to develop missile technology. And they're saying all of that came back to bite the United States and Israel, because Iran is using those resources now to launch this attack. So, of course, things get partisan. We're in the middle of a presidential campaign, and so there'll be charges on both sides. President Trump, I believe, has already said that Biden is weak and the United States shouldn't have returned that money to Iran, because now Iran is using that against the United States and its allies. And of course, the Democrats will say that something that Trump did contributed to this. I don't know what that will be, but I'm sure there will be charges and countercharges. So just like everything else, it becomes partisan.
I mean, at the end of the day, man, everybody, like you said, is going to be pointing a finger at the other person. But however, the biggest thing is what is going to be in our best interest and for our people. And right now, we got a lot of resources invested and a lot of different things. And this is not our fight. So quite frankly, Israel is an ally, so that makes us be on standby to help an ally, but it's not our fight. It's really not.
Well, they say Israel in that region, in the Middle East, which is a very dangerous region, is the representative of the United States. It helps tamp down aggression in that region and, in essence, carry out United States policy without United States having to get involved. So when you say it's not our fight, Israel is a close ally and is carrying out, in large degree, United States policy. Doesn't that make it our fight?
I say it's not our fight, but also if people are really listening, I say, hey, we're already involved. Now, to what degree, how big will our involvement be? How major of a contribution will it be from us? Would it be in Israel? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a big contribution because Israel is one of the main allies we, like you said, we work with. So that it's going to be interesting what happens in the next 3 days, because even though Iran issued a statement that seemed like this can be, their response and nothing else really big is going to happen, which is a lie, because Israel is going to retaliate and it's going to blow up even more.
Yeah.
Israel already made a statement too, so that they're going to respond to be ready for any attack other than this.
Well, as soon as this podcast is over, I'm going to go watch the news because I believe that this is going to be developing all night. I don't think Israel is going to wait a long time to retaliate. If you're going to inflict punishment on somebody, you think about your kids. If they do something wrong, it's more effective when you punish them right away. You can't wait a week. They have forgotten what they did. You want to inflict that punishment, inflict that pain while it's still fresh in their minds about what they did. I think Israel is going to do the same thing.
Well, just think about when Hamas came in from Gaza on Israel and massacred all those families, those people. How long did it take Israel to respond?
Not long.
Less than a week. So I expect the same type of timeline for Israel to respond with this. It's going to get nasty. There's no if. It's just a matter of when, as far as how nasty it gets.
Yeah. So this begs the question, when it comes to presidential politics, there's people who say that this wouldn't have happened if Donald Trump was president because, number one, he's unpredictable. That you have adversaries of the United States are hesitant to take action against the United States because they don't know what the hell Donald Trump is going to do. They don't know what his reaction is going to be. Perhaps Joseph Biden is a little bit more predictable, and it makes it easier to calculate the consequences of taking action against the United States. But when you have an unpredictable adversary, that injects a little bit of caution. But beyond that, when it comes to domestic policy and choosing who is going to be president, there's a couple of schools of thought. One school of thought is that you have to look at the personality of the candidate or the candidate's character. Is this person a good husband? Is this person, does this person have a reputation for telling the truth? Does this person speak nicely about people? Is he mean or nice? If you would invite the candidate over for dinner or would have him stand up and speak at your church, then that's the person that you vote for. The other school of thought is that you look at the policies that are important to you. I take somebody like myself, and the policies that are important to me might be immigration, tax policy, guns, abortion, those types of things. And I look at the policies and I say, which policies do I like? Which candidate has the policies most consistent with how I feel? And that's the candidate that you vote for. And I'm telling you, my opinion, my take is the policies are all that matter. If every voter chose a candidate whose policies most align with how they feel about those issues, that's the candidate that you vote for. Because if you vote on personality and the policies are all wrong according to what your beliefs are, then you're going to have a bad situation. It's like if you're hiring somebody, for example, to build you a home, you would want the best builder, the person who can lay the best foundation, the person who has most knowledge about installing the electrical components, about installing the plumbing and the framing. And because if that person doesn't have those skills, but he's a nice guy, your house will crumble. I think that analogy is important when it comes to picking the president. What's your take?
Well, my take is like you said, look at what's important to you. I think that one of the biggest problems a lot of people have had, especially in the Black and brown community, is just voting for one party, and that's the Dems, straight down, like I've said before. Policies, like you said, are very important, but I also think the way you speak and put your message out there matters as well, as far as getting things done. As we all know, if you're in a relationship or if you're dealing with business, it's not always what you say, but how you say it. And I think you get a lot more done with honey than you do vinegar. Even though I don't agree with everything that President Trump had done in his presidency, I also think he did some great things with his policies that, were like, man, that was spot on. But it was things I disagree with. And the same thing with President Biden. I think there's some things I just do not agree with as far as policy that he's done. So when you, like you said, when you do your research, I look at it as a relationship. Who has more pros than cons that fits what you're looking for, and that's who you go with. And I'm not sticking with one party. It could be an independent candidate, it could be a Tea Party candidate, it could be a Dem, or it could be a Republican. This is a matter of who's fitting, like you said, the bill of what I'm looking for, as far as policies, as far as getting business done, and somewhat personality, but not really personality. Because me and you have had discussions, especially when it came to President Trump. I told you I thought he was an arrogant, pompous fool, and that I didn't like the way he talked. But at the end of the day, well, you're like, hey, his policies, this is what I'm looking at, ... Okay, cool. I'm big on gun policies too. As far as abortion, the policies, first Trump was like, hey, abortions were a no-go. Now he's saying, from my understanding, that he's going to leave it up to the state to decide. So, I mean, abortion is a very big topic, and it's a very touchy topic as well that's out there right now. That's one of the debatable issues going on the presidential campaign trail for them. So, I mean, who knows? We both have daughters, man. And, you just think about all the different scenarios, and we pray that nothing like that ever happens to our daughters, that they never have to make a choice like that. But at the end of the day, reality is we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, So it's like, what would you prefer if your family was put in that situation?
Yeah. Well, like I indicated, I'm on the policy side. The policies are all that matter. I don't care. I'm not hiring or voting for a pastor. I'm not voting for somebody to be my, my personal life coach when it comes to my character and how I conduct myself. I'm looking for somebody to get the job done. I'm hiring somebody for a job, and I want the job done, and I want the job done well. And so the policies for me is what matters. And it's a good point that you brought up as far as abortion, because, Trump is reading the tea leaves. And there have been a number of state elections and referendums where people have voted passionately, even in conservative states like Kansas, to maintain abortion. And it has the Republicans shook. And so, you have the Republicans saying one thing and now are trying to flip the script because they want to get elected, because none of it matters if you can't get into office. And so I believe what they're telling themselves is that Democrats will get elected, even in these conservative states. People who are upset that their abortion, quote unquote, abortion rights have been affected. And so we need to moderate our tone about abortion so we can at least maintain our offices, because if Democrats get back in these offices, they're going to undo everything that we accomplished. Kind of hypocritical. I mean, if you stand on what you believe, what you say you believe, that abortion is taking a life, then how do you compromise that if that's what you really believe? I
mean, look, when it comes to abortion, I believe it's a woman's choice. I mean, it's a lot of different situations. If you got raped, are you gonna make a woman have a baby because, after she got raped, molested by a family member? Do you think that the woman should be forced to have a baby under that condition as well? So it's a very touchy subject, but at the same time, how are you forcing a woman to have a baby? It is the question. And I think that's the biggest thing. They want the right to have the choice of saying, yes, I want the baby, or no, I don't. Some people do it just because they feel they're too young to have a baby. Or some people do it because they're mad at the person they had sex with and they don't want them to be the father of the baby, have a baby by that person. Or they get mad at them and they just like, well, take it out of spite. It's a lot of different reasons that people have abortions. But my main concern is for those that have been molested, raped, things like that, are we forcing them to live with that pain and have that baby off something they didn't ask for?
Well, what if you take those out of the equation, just for the purposes of a hypothetical? For people,
say debate, right?
Say what?
I said that just so I can make you have a debate, right?
It's
Thank
not
you
a
for
debate.
falling into it.
Debate.
Thank you for falling into this. Thank you,
It's a
sir.
discussion. It's not a debate.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's exceptions for the life of the mother, for incest and rape. Does that change the analysis in your mind?
I mean, if it's incest or rape, yeah, it definitely changes it. But at the same time, it's once again, there's so many different things, for abortion. Hey, the woman, her health may not be where it needs to be for her to carry the baby. What about that as well? So, once again, do you tell them they must have a baby and die because their health won't sustain? How do you force a person to have a baby? But at the same time, I don't think, for a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's a life, and Jesus is pro-life. Yeah, but at the same time, is it what would you do? I think everybody should have the freedom to choose what they want to do. That's my personal opinion. I'm not forcing my opinion on anybody. For that, I don't feel like you should force a person to have a baby, because quite frankly, there's a lot of parents out here with kids that should never have kids.
There's some states, and there's many states, even states that are quote unquote liberal, that if a person commits a crime, say a woman who's 4 months pregnant is walking down the street and somebody comes up and tries to rob her. And in the process of the robbery, the person shoots the woman and kills the woman. That person would be charged with not only killing the woman, but killing the fetus, the baby. Is that, and these are in states where abortion may be legal if that woman had decided to have an abortion at 4 months. Do you think, is that contradictory?
Yes and no. This is why I say yes and no. No, in particular incident, because this man, she was going to have the baby, and he came and he killed this woman, and she was choosing to have the baby. No, in the sense of if it was for medical reasons. However, that is a great debate that you propose out here for that. I mean, it's a very good question to ask, because it's on that fine line of yay or nay. It's also saying like, hey, if you're 7 months pregnant and then you decide you don't want the baby anymore and you go have an abortion, is that right? Or should it be a limit on the time that you can have the abortion, is the other big question that's going on with this debate.
Well, the debate is going to go on. Some people believe that two men having this discussion shouldn't even be talking about this, because it's women involved and it's not for men to have the discussion. But at the same time, you believe that's a life, and it is a life that woman is carrying. Abortion is fatal 100% of the time for the baby. And so the discussion is not just about the woman, it's about the life that woman is carrying. The discussion is not just about her desires, that as a society, we have to decide to the extent that we go to protect the vulnerable. Nothing is more vulnerable than a baby, no matter where that baby lives, whether it's living inside a woman's stomach or outside of the woman's stomach. And rape is a very heinous crime. Incest is a very heinous crime. Mm-hmm. But the majority of women who get pregnant, it's not through rape or incest. Unfortunately, that's a small percentage of women who become pregnant. And for me, it goes beyond, the analysis goes beyond that. For me, it's knowing that 40% of, approximately, depending on the state, of the women who get abortion are Black. Sometimes it's a majority. So you have women who are 12% of the female population, but you're getting 40% of the abortions. And I ask myself, if you're, for example, a racist white supremacist, do you like those numbers? Yeah, you love those numbers. For me, I look at the origin of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, who was an avowed eugenicist. That's the same theory that was adopted by Adolf Hitler. And it was her philosophy that undesirable babies should not be brought into the world. If you're poor, if you're low educated, if you don't have the means to live a prosperous life, then your baby should not be brought into this world. This is the founder of Planned Parenthood, and they're carrying out that mission. Margaret Sanger was a racist. She was a eugenicist, and I think she would be very happy with how her organization that she founded is doing. So the analysis for me goes beyond that, and that's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. I don't think the conversation should be had lightly, because a lot of people carry a lot of pain. Women who've had abortions, they carry around a lot of pain and a lot of guilt for what they've done. It was a very difficult decision. I don't think it's anything that should be joked about, but it comes up for discussion, and something that we have to discuss. As it pertains to Roe v. Wade, wasn't legally sound. And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that was her opinion. It was not a legally sound decision. There is no constitutional right to abortion. So now, former President Trump has said that it should be left to the states. And largely that is true, that each state has the right to determine, and the citizens of each state have a right to determine what the law in that state should be concerning abortion. Congress also could make a decision to pass a law nationally about abortion, but there is no right in the Constitution. You can read it from top to bottom, front to back. It says nothing about abortion. There is no express or implied right within that document for abortion, and that's all the Dobbs decision said, was that Roe v. Wade was incorrectly decided in determining that there was a constitutional right to abortion, because that is not in the document. So
yeah, I understand that, and I agree with that. But I also like to point out the fact that yes, the woman is going through the abortion, but it has an effect on the father, the males as well, with the abortions, dealing with that, because quite frankly, there are those that want to have a baby, but now they like, nah, that is being taken away from them, and the psychological effect that it has on them. But I understand this abortion is mainly geared towards the women and their bodies and the right to have a say so in if they're going to be given life or not. But in the back of this whole thing is the men and them being affected as well. And you have those men that just don't give a damn either way, but you have those also that have been affected. They're traumatized by it. They're hurt. They carry that pain as well.
all right, man, you took us down this road. Go ahead.
And I agree. It shouldn't. I don't think when it comes to this, it should be just like you said, two men making this decision. I think the women should be involved in this decision, because the women are the ones that are going through this process with their bodies. So I think they should be involved in that decision.
What about the baby? I mean, does the baby?
The baby can't. You're right, because the baby can't talk. The baby don't have, anything. But what I'm saying, the women are the ones going through it. So the women, you're gonna have women that say, "Hey, keep the baby." You're gonna have women that say, "Hey, you don't have the right to make them say yes, you have to keep it." So either way it goes, I think women should be involved in the decision making, in the conversation. It shouldn't just be men. To me, I look at it the same way I look at people that write a book on how to raise kids but never had kids.
All right. So I didn't plan on talking about this. This wasn't on the list, but you took it there. So, but it's a topic that's certainly very timely, and it's going to be an issue in November. So I think it needs to be talked about. So The Rock, the former wrestler and the actor, says in 2024, for this election coming up for president, that he won't endorse anyone after endorsing Biden 4 years ago. And Jamel Hill, who is, I guess she's a social commentator, political commentator now. She used to talk about sports. Seems like she's more interested in talking about everything else but sports. But she said that she criticized The Rock cowardice because he won't take a stand and endorse Biden over the racist Donald Trump.
Man, look, Hill, I like a lot of the work she has done in the past. She's a fellow Detroiter. I'm cool with that part. But at the end of the day, you support whoever the hell you want to support. And if he don't want to come out and publicly say who the hell he supports, that's his damn right. Shit. How you gonna be mad because he don't want to say it publicly? You support who the hell you want to support and talk about it and do what you need to do. Quite frankly, stop worrying about who the hell he say he's going to endorse. I understand he has influence over a lot of people, but so do you. So you do your part of what you feel is the right thing to do for what you want to see accomplished. Stop fucking worrying about what the Rock and seeing what the smell what the fuck he's cooking. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Nobody gives a shit. If you don't want to smell what the fuck he's cooking, don't go to his damn kitchen or his house. You ain't got to worry about it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to sit up here and push for President Biden, then you keep doing that. And you push for what you want. Kodak Black and them are going for fucking Donald Trump. Hell, because he gave their asses a pardon. So, hey, that's their thing. So whoever the hell you want to endorse, go endorse. I don't give a damn about the other person that ain't going with what I want to go with.
Wait a minute. You don't care that Sexy Red says she's thinking about voting for Donald Trump?
Man, I don't give a fuck about Sexy Red, Suki with the good coochie, whatever the fuck else it is. I don't give a damn about none of them. Because quite frankly, they are embarrassment to our goddamn community, and they shouldn't even be the ones out here being put in the forefront. Man, please, trash. No, don't care.
I want to talk about our health, that the statistics from the CDC indicate that about 4 out of 5 African-American women are overweight or obese. Black men aren't far behind. Actually, black men have less of a problem with obesity than white men. In 2018, blacks were 1.3 times more likely to be obese as compared to whites. In 2018, African-American women were 50% more likely to be obese than non-Hispanic white women. And why is this important? It's not just about vanity, because some people believe that you look better when you're not obese. It's about the illnesses that come along with being overweight and being obese. You have heart disease, you have hypertension, diabetes, general issues with being productive, joint issues. And it's really an epidemic that you have children becoming pre-diabetic before they're even teenagers. You have these chronic illnesses that have really affecting people's ability to live normal lives. The cost of healthcare is going up for many people in society in general because of this issue. And it's my belief, and certainly a consensus among many experts, that this is something that has to be managed. You have food companies, because they want more profits, that are deceiving people through packaging and creative marketing, that are leading people to consume foods that are killing them. Not just fast food companies, but in the grocery store as well. People think, well, I go to the grocery store, I cook my own food, but they're not educated as to the proper foods that they should be eating, certain foods that they should stay away from. And to be honestly, I consider myself a well-informed person. I'm 51 years old, and it probably wasn't until I was, I'm that old. I know I look good. I probably look a lot younger than that, but I'm 51.
Yeah, bro.
And I just recently learned about the negative effects, a lot of the foods that I thought was healthy. I mean, for example, I thought sugar was just a white substance that was sweet and it affected your teeth. But sugar in its many forms, whether it's sugar or high fructose corn syrup or even honey and all of the sugar substitutes, they cause inflammation, which is the root cause of a lot of diseases. Seed oils, cottonseed oil and palm oil and sunflower seed oil are inflammatory, and they really should be stayed away from. That I had never heard that until recently, until about a year ago. And a lot of the foods that we eat, whether it's salad dressing, sugar, ketchup, barbecue sauce, breakfast meats, have these ingredients in them, and we eat them all day long. And it's no wonder that we suffer from a lot of the illnesses that we suffer from. This is an issue that, if you believe that Black Lives Matter, if you believe that life is precious, this is a subject that cannot be ignored, because it is an epidemic and is something that we need to address and we need to change. And it's going to require each of us to be vigilant, to educate each other about it. And this, again, it's not about vanity. It's about life and living it more abundantly. That's how God wants us to live. The word also says that your body is a temple. And I love all of this stuff just like everybody else. I still like McDonald's. I like McDonald's. I'm not saying I eat it. I haven't eaten McDonald's in a while. I like fast food. I like pizza. I enjoy
Chick-fil-A?
Say what?
You eat Chick-fil-A?
I don't eat Chick-fil-A anymore. I like Chick-fil-A, but I learned that a piece of Chick-fil-A chicken, the fried chicken, has 50 ingredients in it. They cook it, I believe, in peanut oil, which is inflammatory. So I don't eat Chick-fil-A anymore. I like the chicken. I like the food. I was a big Chick-fil-A fan. I was happy when they opened one near my house. Of course, the shakes and the fries.
I like the fries and the shakes.
Yeah, the sauce. I had a container in my house that probably had 50 Chick-fil-A sauces in it, because I always get a few extra when I go. Man, that stuff is a killer, bro. I'm telling you.
Lucky for me, I don't eat Chick-fil-A sauce. Lucky for me. But
so you saying you eat the chicken but not the sauce?
You damn right. I eat the chicken and not the sauce.
Because I don't eat the sauce.
You know what I'm saying?
No sauce for me.
I get 3 double cheeseburgers, large fry, and a Diet Coke. That Diet Coke offsets everything. However, no, look, man, when you're talking about this, we talked about this one thing in a couple episodes ago. Bill Gates is buying up millions of acres of land and dealing with farming, dealing with the GMO, and all of this mass production of our foods that you mentioned. I mean, our vegetables, our fruits that are out there, man, that are being chemically reproduced and enhanced and put into the grocery stores, the dyes and everything. Like the bananas you buy in the grocery stores aren't real bananas.
What are they?
Genetically
Oh,
enhanced
genetically
bananas because they don't have any seeds in it. A real banana has seeds. Any fruit you get should have seeds because that's the original form. There's really no such thing as a seedless watermelon. That's a genetically modified fruit. How does a fruit grow without a seed? Think about it. So these are the things we're like, oh man, give me that seedless grapes, give me the seedless watermelon. It's more out of convenience because we don't have to sit up there and spit all those seeds out and and continue to chew. But we're doing our bodies harm by not getting the natural source of what we need. So fruits with seeds, you should buy them instead of avoiding them because those are the natural fruits. So if you buy fruits that are seedless, they are not the natural fruits. So like you said, these are things that we need to be aware of and think about with this. And America didn't really become obese until fast food came into play because before that, all your meals were cooked at home. Everything was cooked fresh. But we've become so greedy and just so high paced, fast paced that we are just like giving it to me now. If it ain't now, then I don't want it. Everything has to be now, quick, quick, quick. But what happened to having family time and sitting down at the table and eating dinner with your family?
Well, listen, I raised 3 kids along with my wife, and we both work. And it came down to a matter of convenience that it's hard to live in this day and age without that income. And you have professionally minded, oriented women and men. And so it comes down to time. You get home at 5, 6 o'clock, the kids are at home, latchkey kids, and they have to eat. And cooking something from scratch is not always an option, certainly not convenient. So you get those convenience items. It might be Stouffer's macaroni and cheese, or God forbid, Kraft macaroni and cheese. It might be stovetop stuffing and Idaho.
Man, don't you dare say no damn stovetop nothing. No conversation ends right there. Stovetop.
Okay? Hold on, bro. Stovetop stuffing is delicious. Okay.
Stop this whole damn podcast. You make that dumbass statement again.
Man, you put that flavor pack in there. What's your favorite stovetop flavor pack? Is it the beef or the chicken?
It's called none of that shit. So what I'm telling you is, look, just like a person that wants to be in the gym or, count the calories during the week, you meal prep. And if you're really concerned about you and your family's health, my whole theory is you make time for whatever you want to make time for. And if you want to make time to make sure your family eats healthy, then hey, if it's during the week you don't have time to cook dinner from scratch, then you meal prep. You have the weekend, you cook big meals. Hey, you break it up for you had this stuff during the week. You could just pop in the microwave or throw in the oven real quick. Hey, you're good to go for the week. If you're truly concerned about it, my thing is, if it's a will, it's a way. And if it's a true concern, you'll find a way to make time for it. If it's not really a concern, then you're not going to really make time for it. Plain and simple. And so, go ahead.
You factor in a couple of other variables, though. Money, and you hear people talk about food desert. Well, the reason why Black people can't eat healthy or low-income people can't eat healthy is because they live in a food desert. There's no grocery stores. All they have is convenience stores and 7-Eleven and party stores. So they can't go buy any lettuce and no tomatoes and no cucumbers. All they have is Hostess snacks, Snickers and chips.
I mean, part of that's true because if you go into the inner city, you see more liquor stores and party stores than you do in the suburbs. And the suburbs is where you get your Harris Teeters and Wegmans and all of those stores. But in the inner city, you got meat market, party stores, liquor stores. But at the same time, you have those people that, once again, that care, that are doing urban farming and teaching the people how to grow their own vegetables and fruits in the inner city. Now, the money that's being allocated for those type of resources is hard to come by because they're not really trying to have that. However, once again, you're doing your research. If it's a will, it's a way. And people like us need to help be able to put that information out there for our people to know. And what my fraternity does out here, once a month, we go into a neighborhood that, like you said, doesn't have a grocery store in that neighborhood. We get food and we pass out groceries to families that just come in. First come, first serve. We pass out groceries to them: meat, vegetables, cereal, fruit. All these things are being passed out to them on a monthly basis. And I mean, we would start at 10 in the morning, and it's times we're out of food by 11:30, and we have a lot of food. That's how many people come. So if that's just one part here, it's all over the country, man.
Listen, if you don't have money, then you can't buy good food or bad food. So obviously income plays a part, but there's a lot of people can get what they want. I mean, it's all about what your motivation is. And amazingly, what the statistics show is that when it comes to poor health and obesity and things that Black people are dealing with, it doesn't have anything to do with income. So you have people who are educated, who have the means, they have a car, and they have a Publix right down the street, and they can get there, and they can afford anything in Publix, but that's not what they choose to eat. Or they're shopping in the middle of the grocery store instead of the outsides, because on the perimeter of the grocery store, that's where you have the fresh food. You have the produce. You have the meats, the dairy, the bakery, where they bake the bread instead of that packaged bread that has a shelf life of 6 months, and that has all the preservatives in it. They still shop in the middle because that's the way they're conditioned. That's the way they were brought up. It's convenient. They're out there making money, but they're not spending their money on eating properly. And so it's not always about income. Yeah, income is a factor. And a lot of times it costs more money to eat healthy, especially if you're eating out. You go into a restaurant. But we have to, first, it starts with education. People have to understand why they're doing it. And sometimes the most delicious choice isn't what's best for you. I mean, like I said, I love Chick-fil-A. I still like McDonald's, but I understand at this point in my life, like I said, I'm 51. So what I eat, I mean, I think it has a bigger effect on me now because of my age. But not only that, I know now. I've been educated. I have the knowledge. So I look at food differently. And my relationship with food has changed. I don't eat as often. I let my digestive system rest. So I'm not grazing all day, eating 3 meals, and I make better decisions about what I eat. But it's not to brag. I think that a lot of times for people, having these conversations help. You don't want to be the person at the table criticizing people as they eat. You don't want to be an asshole about it. But at the same time, there's an appropriate time and place to have that discussion. And
yeah, because I tell you to shut up. I tell you shut up while I'm eating. Get up.
I will not come between you and a rib.
No, you will not. I will not come between you and a good piece of salmon. But however, yeah, that doesn't roll like that. But it's also like, hey, the crazy part is you spend more money trying to eat healthy than you do to eat unhealthy, like you were saying. And so, like for me, trying to go to the farmer's market and I get eggs from a farmer, I'm paying $5 for a dozen of eggs. Where, hey, at one point in time, you used to go to Walmart and get 60 eggs for less than $5. Now those 60 eggs are about $10 now. And so for $10, if I go to the farmer's market, I get 24. So if you got a big family, what you gonna choose? The 60 or the 24? Even though the 24 is healthier, for that same price you spend for 24, hell, I can get 60.
Right.
That's 36 extra eggs.
Well, there's a lot of considerations that go into it, man. If you're gonna buy organic produce, sometimes that's cost prohibitive, but you have to start somewhere. You might not always be able to do the organic or go to Whole Foods. And that stuff is sky high. A lot of people can't. I mean, with this inflation, just buying conventional produce and food is out of reach for a lot of people because it's ridiculous inflation that we have. But that does not prevent people from getting the knowledge to know. And certain things.
What about the Eastern market?
Eastern market is great, man. Listen. You can get some great bargains at the Eastern market. You can negotiate. If you go later in the day, this is just Eastern market for people who don't know. Is a farmer's market, a very, very long-standing farmer's market, typically on the weekends in Detroit, where people, many of them farmers, bring their produce and sell it at great prices. And they have dozens and dozens of vendors. Many cities have farmers markets, but again, you have to be able to get there. And once you get there, you have to be able to afford what they have. But again, you have to have the knowledge to understand why. And there's a lot of people who have the income and might have been exposed to the knowledge, but they just prefer some sweet. They will go to the fast food restaurant right down the street from the farmer's market that they know is there and pay for that. And nowadays, with inflation, even the fast food is expensive.
Man, tell me about it. I took my kids to McDonald's and I'm ordering Happy Meals. Man, I spent like almost $50.
You know what's also expensive? getting your foot cut off because you got diabetes and you didn't take care of
Man,
yourself. You know,
good thing I got medical coverage. So, no, I'm just playing. But no, bro,
a stroke,
you're right.
a stroke, that's
Hey,
expensive. A heart
you know
attack,
what?
that's expensive.
You know what else is expensive? A funeral.
So you better choose your expensive.
Hey
Choose.
man, which hey that can roll us into our next thing, man. We lost a legend this week that could be looked at one or two ways. You know, some people love him, some people can't stand him. You know, but they died from cancer. O.J. Simpson died this week from I believe it was prostate cancer, man, which is another big health concern within the especially the black community. And I lost my grandfather to prostate cancer. So that's a big thing for the men in the black community to go get checked out. I know it's a little stigma with going to get checked for your prostate check. A lot of people feel violated, but it's a necessity, man. Like you said just now, you got to pick and choose your battles. You know, do you want to make sure you don't have it and live a long life, or you can go without it and be a gambler? But we lost OJ, man, this week. What's your take on that?
You know what? I never really made a determination about guilt or innocence that of OJ. I watched the trial, parts of it, and I probably just was interested in people's reaction to OJ and the verdicts. But I'm not one of these people who caught up OJ guilty, OJ not guilty. And some people will get mad at that. How dare you say he wasn't guilty? It was obvious that he was guilty.
Just like this. Just like this. I don't know if he's guilty or if he's not guilty. Just like that.
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I don't have to have an opinion on that. Why everybody has to have an opinion on everything? I don't know. He was a interesting character, and he appeared to have no shame. He was still out in public and shared his opinion even after the verdicts. I mean, the not guilty verdict in the criminal trial, the guilty verdict, or he was found responsible in the civil trial. But he still was out there, lived a public life, still had fans. And condolences to his family. Certainly condolences to the families of his ex-wife and her friend who were Goldman, and Brown Simpson.
And Goldman.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a fortunate situation all around, and I really don't have a strong opinion on it. It's just interesting to see the dynamics when it comes to race, or when it comes to OJ, because OJ, I mean, he really didn't embrace the black community as a celebrity, but the black community rallied around him as the trial was going on and after the verdict. So I found that whole dynamic interesting. I don't necessarily think he was a sellout prior to the murders, but again, I just looked at the sociological impact that the trial had, and but I don't have a strong opinion on it one way or another. And I think the message that you have about having your prostate checked, if that's what comes out of it, that's probably the most important thing, because I believe that's more important than this discussion about whether he was guilty or not guilty at this point. I mean, that was what, 20, 30 years ago. It
was over 30 years ago, man. I remember as a kid, I think I was in middle school when that happened with the chase with the Bronco, man. And that was just like crazy news. And then Johnny Cochran come, if the glove don't fit, then you must have quit, thing. Just looking at how much has changed since then, the careers, the lives that have been messed up. The one thing that always stuck with me from that trial was the civil trial that happened, that they found guilty. And the Goldman family, I just remember I felt like the dad for Goldman was just like, man, he was ruthless when it came to the court. Him and his family, just like they was trying to take everything OJ had, from him to destroy him, because they felt like they lost so much. And I can't say they're wrong for feeling that way, because I'm not in their shoes. I didn't lose that person that way. I did have a brother that was murdered, however, and I know how I felt about that situation. And at the end of the day, nothing brings that person back. Nothing brings you that peace. So do I need to give a lot of energy to make sure you are penniless or have nothing for taking everything as far as that person away from me? I don't know, man. God said as a Christian, you're supposed to forgive, but forgiveness is hard to do in some cases, man. It really is. So, but at the same time, if you don't forgive, man, it can weigh you down and it can eat at you and it can end up killing you. So it's like a double-edged sword. I can forgive you, but does that mean I forget? No, but I can forgive. But if I don't forgive you, it eats at me. And I just felt like, man, that there was no balance. I don't think he ever forgave. So that was like the biggest thing out of that whole situation for that I just like really like had me thinking for years. But him passing, you think, how did it affect his kids? His kids still got to live with their mama was gone and the people saying that their daddy did it. How do you have a relationship with your mom's side of the family, but you still deal with your dad, and the stuff they probably say about your daddy, than the public's eye. So many different dynamics, man. The man died. He broke some barriers, having the first international commercial as a black lead in the commercial. What I think was Hearst rental car, him running through the airport, him winning the Heisman, breaking records in the NFL, being a commentator in movies, great. But he had his downfalls. However, the man passed. He had a lot of accomplishments, but he made a lot of mistakes. As any human, the only difference is his was televised and ours are not.
You mentioned your brother Nicky, who was murdered in Chicago. So several days ago, there was a young man in Chicago. I believe his name was Dexter Reed, and he hit the news for a second. So, and the mayor spoke about it. The mayor of Chicago spoke about it. And here's what the headline said. They said that a young black man was shot almost 100 times by Chicago police. And that was it. And that was the lead. But then the facts came out and the video came out. And it turns out that Dexter Reed was young. He was in his 20s. And the police
was like 26.
Yeah. And in fact, the police pulled him over, and he, according to the police, pulled out a gun and shot a police officer who came up to the car. And it might have been a seatbelt violation. It was some minor violation. And it was a tactical police unit that pulled him over, and which is unusual for that type of unit to pull somebody over merely for a minor traffic infraction, unless it was a pretext for something else, meaning they suspected him of some larger crime and just used an excuse to pull him over. But he was the first one to fire, Dexter Reed. The police officer that he shot in the hand was a black police officer, and the other officers responded and shot him many times. A lot of people are upset that he was shot. And you saw the media, and here's the way I saw it, that the headlines didn't mention that Dexter Reed instigated the shooting. He didn't instigate the initial interaction, but he initiated the shooting. And it kind of, to me, looked like the media, and we really have to look at the media trying to instigate another George Floyd type situation through misleading headlines. Because a lot of people some people I know, some of them black conservatives were upset about what happened to Dexter Reed. That's an upsetting situation. You don't want to see anybody get killed. You don't want to see another young black man killed. The city of Chicago, where every weekend, you have dozens of people shot. We don't, unless you in Chicago, people don't pay attention to that. It's just somebody else shot in Chicago. And the Black Lives Matter people don't have anything to say about that. And they were ready to march on this Dexter Reed situation. And all of a sudden, when the dash cam video came out and the body cam video came out, it showed that Dexter Reed shot at the police first. The headlines went away. Nobody else is talking about it. And it's not going to instigate any riots. And okay, maybe next time. And I just, we really have to be smarter about how we allow the news, who has an agenda, to trigger us to doing things and tearing up our own communities because they want some sensational killing when they don't have anything to say about the crime that we deal with in our communities every single day. And we allow the media to push our buttons because we should be upset about when black children and black men and black women are murdered. And it happens every single day and nobody has anything to say about it. They're talking about Diddy, talking about everything else. It doesn't mean anything unless a cop or a white cop pulls the trigger and all of a sudden that's the life that matters. But every life matters. So, we just have to be smarter consumers of news and stop allowing people from outside of our community telling us how to react.
So here's my thing. I was reading on it, and like you said, he shot first, but for a seatbelt violation. And what they were also saying, like, hey, he had tinted windows, so how did you see a seatbelt violation from the angle that they say they were at, and tinted windows and an unmarked unit? But here's the only thing that really concerned me: shot 94 times. So deadly force, yes, but was it excessive deadly force? Is my only question. But here's my thing: if you have the moment, because they said an officer shot him 2 to 3 more times as he laid on the ground motionless, and that 3 out of the 4 officers within that 40 seconds had time to reload. So he's already down. If you got 4 people shooting into the car, if you're looking at 12 rounds per person, we'll say 13, right? Per person. With 2 people, that's 26 rounds. You don't think 26 rounds was enough to put the person down?
So what?
These are the questions what I'm saying, if they're not moving, because once you had a chance to reload and nothing is going, you should already reassess the scene and the situation. You should already be able to, but they're going to say you should have been able to reassess the situation between 4 people at that point in time with 4 cops.
After how many rounds do you think he was dead?
Out of the 4 people?
Yeah. How many rounds do you think it took to kill Dexter Reed?
It takes 1 round to kill a person.
All right. So
however,
if he was already dead,
if you're technical, if you want to say that after what round, technically 1 round can kill a person. However, if you empty your clip, they empty their clip. The person next to me, the person over here empty their clip, and the person over there empty their clip. Yeah, you reload, but you reassess the situation to see.
You said that the windows were tinted. I don't remember from the video if the windows were
saying tinted. I said the article I read said the windows were tinted. So I don't know. I didn't see the video. So I can't comment on the video. But once again, he's wrong. At the end of the day, this wouldn't have happened if he didn't fire at the police. Point blank. It's that simple. So that's what people don't realize. If he didn't fire at the police, this situation doesn't happen.
But you know what I hear?
What people get lost up in.
You know what I hear when I hear people complain about, like you did, about the number of rounds fired? The way I hear it is, and you might not have meant it that way. You probably didn't, but this is what I hear.
You damn right I
did. Here's what I hear though. I want to be mad at something. Since I can't be mad at the police because Dexter Reed shot first, I'm just going to be mad because they shot him so many times. If he's already dead, it really don't matter how many times you shot him unless you're concerned whether his mama can have an open casket or not. And I don't want to sound cold-blooded. His mother broke down crying on TV about what happened to her son. I'm sure it's upsetting to her. Okay. But all of that is really superfluous. It's beside the point, because if he was already dead, you're talking about a dead body. I know people take up all of that's important, but if he's dead, he's dead. So, but you also have something called the fog of war, that a lot of times police officers, from what I understand, I've never been a police officer, I've never been in a stress situation like that you can empty a magazine before you even know it. That when you're running off an adrenaline, you just saw your colleague get shot and you could be killed. You have to engage. You don't get it. You're a police officer. You don't have the luxury of running away or simply hiding. You have to engage the threat.
Pause.
And you can lose your life. I'm sorry?
You have the luxury, but you choose not to.
I mean, okay, but it's your job.
Because we got police officers that run away. Just like in the schools when it was shooters, officers ran away and didn't respond. These officers stayed and respond. So kudos to, to those officers. What I'm saying is, don't say you don't have the luxury. You got the luxury to run away. The number of people that run away versus the ones that stay is small, far, few and in between. But you can. It's just like in war. You got those that, hey, in a firefight, that just freeze, you know what I mean, and duck away. And you have those that keep going. The majority is going to go in, engage the enemy, and keep going. But they stayed in and engaged them. So, but yeah, my bad. Go ahead, carry on. So,
since you have to engage a threat, you're going to eliminate threat. Okay, you're putting your life on the line to help your injured comrade, and you want to make sure the threat is eliminated. You're not counting the rounds. You're going off of adrenaline. And I hate to use the term a good shooting because, somebody died. This young man lost his life. And I believe all life is valuable. But at the same time, I mean, criticize the police because of the number of rounds that are fired. I mean, come on, give me a break. This guy, he could have paid the ticket. I understand the police, the windows were tinted. Maybe it was a good stop. Maybe it wasn't a good stop. And if it's not a good stop, then fight the ticket in court. That doesn't give you a right to pull out your gun and shoot at the police. That police officer was doing his job. There are bad there are bad police officers out there. And I don't believe the police are always right. And I'm sure there's some police officers who have been shot who deserve to get shot. And I hate to say that because, police officers are out there putting their lives on the line, but there's some crooked cops out there. And I believe that a citizen, and it's the law in many states, that you have a right to defend yourself against an unlawfully aggressive police officer. And I believe those situations do arise. This wasn't one of those situations. Okay, he could have killed that police officer, and whether he got 5 rounds, 50 rounds, or 500 rounds, I think that's beside the point.
Okay, I mean, some people look at it as overkill. I mean, some people say nah, but I think this could have all been avoided once again if he didn't pull his gun out and shoot at the officers. That's a no-win situation in the first damn place. Second of all, I'm not just about to be pulling my gun out just because. I mean, I also tell people that before you go sitting up here and making a judgment call, understand all the facts. You getting in the uproar, watch the whole video before you go out here and act a damn fool. Because you can go out here and act a fool and you being wrong because the person was wrong. And if you just comply with some of this stuff will not happen in these situations. Now, granted, hey, you could be pulled over just because you black. Hey, it happens. Been there, done that. And they make things harder. But the unfortunate part is the rules that you got to abide by when you get pulled over are different than the rules the white folks got to abide by when they get pulled over. You don't have that same luxury. And the sad part is you got to have that conversation with your kids, our sons mainly, so they can come home to us to tell us what happened.
Well, next week on episode 5 of our podcast, the Thomas and Terrell Show, one of the things that we're going to talk about is a study that was done, I believe, by a Harvard professor who's black. And what this study, he says, shows is that more white people are killed by the police than black people. Now, I know it's going to be hard for a lot of people to believe that, but it's one thing that we're going to look into and we're going to talk about. White people got to follow the rules too. Now, I believe that I do believe that there are different sets of rules, but police officers are a nervous bunch. So, there's certain rules that everybody should follow in traffic stops. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about next week. But along the line of shootings and one of the things that we had here recently in Michigan, we had the Oxford school shooter. This kid took a gun to school. He was a troubled kid. His parents had bought him a gun. They dispute that. They said he had access to the gun, but it wasn't his gun. He took the gun to the school and he shot and killed, might have been three people. I'm not sure exactly, but his parents were the first people who were convicted of manslaughter as parents of a minor who murdered somebody. And his mother and father were convicted. And last week they were sentenced to minimum 10, maximum 15 years in prison, each of them.
I mean, with that, from my understanding, it was signs of neglect that the school brought up to the parents, and the parents just refused to acknowledge with that. And quite frankly, if you buy your kid a gun and they use it like that, and you don't teach them the proper way, if your kid has mental issues, do you feel the parents should be held liable?
I don't know. I was kind of torn on this one. I didn't do a deep dive into the facts. On the surface, it looked like there were some signs there. I question these people who buy their minor children a pistol. I mean, if you're going hunting, you want to go shooting with your kid, you might buy them a little 22 rifle. That's fine. But you had this kid who had some issues, and your parents knew that. As a parent, you have to lock up your gun. I mean, you have to make sure that your gun is secure. And they didn't do that. And, having a gun is a huge responsibility. And you cannot have any lapses. You cannot have any mistakes. because somebody could lose their life. And if it requires these two people being prosecuted and the threat of you as a parent being prosecuted, if your kid gets a hold of your gun, then I think it's probably a good outcome, because, you know, we have to be smart. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe that people should have the right to bear arms, but with that right comes responsibility. And these innocent students lost their lives because these parents were irresponsible. Not just them, their son took the gun and intentionally pulled the trigger, but in essence, they enabled that. And so parents need to be reminded that if you're going to have a gun in the household, then you have to be extra vigilant, extra responsible, pay extra attention to how that gun is stored. And me, I did something different in my household. I taught my children how to shoot. And that lesson does not begin on the range. That lesson begins understanding the deadly impact a gun and a bullet coming out of that gun at a high velocity could have on someone. The destructive nature that gun could potentially have. So we learn the rules of responsibly handling a gun. And all that goes along with that before you even get to the range. And I think that education is important. Actually, I think it should be taught in school. If my children ever came across a gun, they would understand how to operate it responsibly, how to handle the situation. If they ever saw their friend with a gun, how to go to an adult, don't ever play with guns. That is serious business. But these parents fail to do that, and they're suffering the consequences. And unfortunately, the consequences that they're suffering, because their son is still alive, he's in prison for life, but some parents lost their children, and that's the tragedy.
Well, I mean, it also didn't help that they went on the run and try to, you know, take money out the bank and go on the run, and they wouldn't hide. So, yeah, send their asses to jail. You doing stupid stuff like that instead of coming and turn yourself in. If you're truly innocent and, you know, really wanted to help your son, you should have been at the police station that same day. That's just my opinion on it. So, yeah, send their ass to jail, because they were irresponsible on so many different levels in there with that. And like you said, I teach my kids gun safety. I let them hold my gun, even my 3-year-old, because to me that takes the curiosity away from them to be able to do it. Going over the safety rules. What do you do? When do you put your finger on the trigger? How should you hold the gun? How do you know the gun is safe? What's safety? What's fire? All of these things. Is it a toy? I teach my kids that, and I want them to understand it. So if I let you hold the gun, I let you see how the gun operates, and I have no ammo in it. That takes that curiosity. I wonder how it feels. How does it work away from them? And now they understand like the dangers and like, hey, don't do that. That's not a toy type thing. I've even done the thing like on purpose where I left my gun with no ammo, nothing in it. After going over safety rules with my kids, I put it on the table and walked out the room, and I watched them just to see if they would follow directions of what I told them. And I was proud that they didn't even budge. They didn't touch it. They didn't move with it. Now, would I ever do that with my gun with live ammo or anything like that? No, but that was me testing them over after going over things just to see if they will budge just a little bit. And I lock my stuff up too. But to me, like you said, gun safety is very important to go over with them. It takes the curiosity away from it.
All right. I agree with everything that you said, and I did the same thing. About today's episode is wow, there's so much more to talk about. Well, a couple things I want to talk about. South Carolina, congratulations to South Carolina's University of South Carolina women's basketball Gamecocks. Thanks. Dawn Staley, the coach, they went undefeated the whole season. They last 2 or 3 seasons, they only lost a couple games.
Hey, that's a bad team right there, boy.
And you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't even know who was playing in the men's national championships. That's how disinterested I was in that compared to the women. The women's playoffs and championships was far more interesting than the men's this year. It was highly entertaining. And you know what? I make fun of women's basketball, the WNBA. I make jokes about it. I mean, listen, any of them could beat me, you know. So it was highly entertaining, and it was good basketball. I mean, the skills that was displayed, it was amazing. I really enjoyed it.
Man, yeah, I watched, especially the rematch between LSU and Iowa, man, that was a big one. And then South Carolina coming in with Iowa as a rematch with them from the year prior as well, man. It was good, man. And so, like you said, congratulations to Coach Don Staley, man, who, was a competitor in her pro career as well, from being at the University of Virginia, going to the WNBA and the Olympics with Lisa Leslie and Rebecca Lobo and all them winning the gold medal, man. So she's a beast as a player, and she's a beast as a coach to come in, rebuild South Carolina into a national powerhouse, man. However, I don't agree with her statement with having men play with the women in the sports. I think is utterly ridiculous, man. I mean, maybe because you have Brittany Garner in the WNBA, I
Brittany
don't know.
Griner?
Yeah, well, Brad Griner, in my opinion, but yeah, Brittany going through in the WNBA. But no, man, when she said that, man, I was thoroughly disappointed in her for that statement. I mean, she's entitled to her own opinion, so be it. But so am I. So here it is. I don't agree with it. To me, to have men play against the women is just in my opinion, a punk. You suck playing against other men, so now you want to go play against the women and try to dominate and call yourself an all-star and just a baller. And I think it's trash. I don't think it deserves to be there. If you want to do it, then create a whole damn league for transgenders. Shit. You don't see the women transitioning into men and going to playing in the NBA, but you want to allow men to go into that mess. Mm-hmm. Come on, man.
Well, she gave the woke answer. And, I think what it was telling for me is that she didn't even give it confidently. She hesitated. She processed it. She said it, so take her at her word. That's what she believes, but it didn't sound convincing. And it's absolutely ridiculous because if LeBron James, heck, even Bronny James, his son decided that he was going to go declare himself a woman and play college basketball or in the WNBA, all of the hard work, the years all the way from elementary school, when a lot of these young ladies started playing and showed an interest. Just think about the thousands of hours and the driving that their parents did and the buying of the shoes and the sacrificing that they did to get them to that level. And to have some dude who was, and not LeBron James is not a mediocre player, but you can take a mediocre player from the NBA, go in and dominate in the WNBA because men and women are physically different. I don't care who tries to deny it. And what you're doing is you robbing those girls and those women of all of the hard work, effort, opportunity, money, and dreams that they have because you as a mediocre man wanted to steal that from them. Like the swimmer who calls himself Leah Thomas, who was ranked number 500. I think we talked about this. Ranked number 500 against men.
He was
and was number one when it came to the women. Swimming is something that's the difference between winners and losers is measured in hundredths of a second or tenths of a second. And he went in and he beat the women by 7-8 seconds because men and women are so different. And so for Dawn Staley, who is very skilled at what she does, she gave the woke answer, and I think being declaring your allegiance to wokeness, you're selling out the people who you're supposed to be serving. You're selling out the people you're supposed to be serving because it's only a matter of time before it happens, and the dreams of a deserving young woman will be crushed because some coward or somebody with mental illness wanted to a male wanted to compete against girls.
Man, look, I saw a UFC fight in the women's division, and it was this man who now declares himself a woman fighting this woman. And I mean, he beat the brakes off her. And it was like the after fight interview was like, yeah, I want to let everybody know I'm here, and whoever next can come on and get it. I'm here to dominate. Bitch, you a dude fighting a female. Different than a dude in the street hitting on a woman, in my opinion. You need to have your ass whooped so you couldn't beat the men. So you go in here and beat the women, man. It was one of the most disgusting scenes I've seen, man, because I felt like that was so disrespectful and such a coward act, man, that for him to do that. So I pray, man, that more people will stand up to make sure that type of thing does not happen. And if you want it that bad, create your own damn league of transgenders. and do a transgender league. That's how I feel. I don't believe, in same-sex stuff, but that's my belief. But if you want to do it, create your own league.
You say you don't believe in same sex. You talking about men competing against women in sports?
Yeah, I don't believe men should be competing as women against women. I don't.
Right. Okay. Last thing is it's about black sounding names. There was a study done by UC Berkeley, University of California at Berkeley. A new study shows that employers are less likely to call back applicants with black sounding names than those with white sounding ones. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, and the University of Chicago recently filed 83,000 fake job applications for 11,000 entry-level positions at multiple Fortune 500 companies with names like Brad, Greg, Darnell, Lamar, Amanda, Kristen, Ebony, and LaToya. The study found that the white-sounding applicant names were favored up to 24% more than the black-sounding applicants. Now, the people I talked to about this, black people said, "Well, I'm not surprised. Of course, this
ain't new to us. This ain't shit
right.
new." But then again, we as black people have to be careful what you name your kids. People in general have to be careful what you name your kids, because whatever you name your kids, words have power. So whatever you call your kid is what you're talking into their lives every single day when you call their name. And people want to name their kids Mercedes, Alexa. And at one point in time, I was one of them idiots that wanted to name my kid after the damn car. I thought it was a beautiful name for a daughter. Man, but
what car was it? Chevy?
I thought Alexa was Maserati, but I thought the name Alexis was a beautiful name, but that got shut down quick, and I'm so glad it got shut down. But when you name your kid Chardonnay, come on now, man. I had somebody tell me they had
Chardonnay is not French.
Bullshit. Or man, was that you? Man, somebody told me, man, it wasn't you. But somebody told me, man, they met somebody named Chlamydia or something.
Come on, get the hell out of here, man.
Man, it was just stupid ass names that people give their kids. So you got Boonquisha and all this shit, and people try to spell it differently, but it sounds the same. It's the same thing. So
but so we're supposed to satisfy the racists or the bigots by,
No, what I'm saying is be smart of what you name your kids, because naming your kids used to be a big thing, because what name you gave them meant something. You used to look up the name that you're going to give them and what that name meant, because you knew whatever you named your kid, it was what you were speaking over them in their life.
Hold on, but there could be names that are common to black people that mean something. So just because so you can have
Brad is a decent name.
And Lamar, what does that mean? What does Brad mean?
I'm just saying, like, you're talking about a common black name. What I'm talking about is outlandish names.
Okay, all right,
outlandish. Because I know I've met a white Keisha. Keisha's considered a black name. But I met a white Keisha. So, okay, now what? Should you be called back just at the other side? Should it be that you're not called back because of your name? That's like saying you can't pronounce a person from the Middle East name, so you don't call them back because you don't want to mess up their name, or a person from India. You know what I'm saying? It's on the same level. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? You're looking at not the name, but what does their resume say? What are their qualifications? Are they qualified to do the job? And that's what matters. Are you qualified? Because your parents didn't name you a decent name doesn't mean you're not qualified to do the job that you're applying for.
Yeah. A lot of recruiters, they have a lot of applications to look through, and they're just looking for reasons to get rid of applications. If you got a limited amount, you got 3 positions and you got 5,000 applications, you're going through them quick, and any excuse to get rid of it. It might not be a conscious bias. And I do believe that there's such thing as unconscious bias, because you could have a recruiter look at a name and say, I'm not going to pick Ebony because she's black, but maybe I've never met an Ebony in my life. I don't know what this means. So maybe that's why they do it. Who knows? And some of it might be driven by conscious bias.
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
As an employer, how do you go through your process?
Well, I typically don't have very many applications, but I look at the substance. That's all that matters to me. I've never looked at a person's name and tried to make a judgment or determination based upon a name. Because
Man, bull,
I
you
want
looked
the
at my
most
name and
qualified
said I
person.
wasn't hired. You looked at my name on the application, said he not hired. Yeah, there's no work ethic.
Well, I knew you, and you, as my little brother, I knew that you joke, you got jokes. We'd be up in there we'd be up in there doing a podcast. We're supposed to be working, and you didn't even have to work for me in order to get what you wanted. You just take it. So, no, that wouldn't work out. I wouldn't accept your application. No.
Hey, yes, you would, because you know that at the end of the day, I want to make sure stuff get done and that nobody try to mess up the stuff. Okay, that's not how it's gonna roll, because I check you before. Man, what? It better not get up to the top to you. It better not.
All right, we got another great episode in the bag. This is our longest episode yet, but it was a great one. We had some great topics. So, Thomas and Terrell Show. Thank you for watching, and join us for episode 5 next week. Love you, bro.
Hey, love you too. Hey, make sure you catch us on YouTube and go check out our Facebook page, Thomas and Terrell Show on Facebook. All right. Look us up on YouTube, man. Tell your friends about us. Tell your mama, tell your daddy, your sister, your brother, your auntie, your uncle. Hey, go tell the person on the corner store. I don't care. Let them know. Tell them to check us out.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right.